and we'll start the presentation. Okay, welcome 32BJ members to our Heroes Act update in Kaiser Wellness Clinic. We'll give members a couple more minutes, and then we'll start the presentation. Hey, Raylynn, could you go on mute, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome everyone to our 32BJ Heroes Act update in Kaiser Wellness Clinic. We're going to get started. So this morning for the next hour, we're going to talk a little bit about this Heroes Act and what we got to do to fight to get it passed. And then we're going to do a Kaiser Insurance Wellness Clinic. So my name is Rich Gibson. I'm the director of the security division for 32BJ in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I'm going to present to you a update on this Heroes Act, how it can impact our lives, and what we need to do to get it passed. Then we'll have a presentation from Priya Saha from Kaiser Permanente, who's the health insurance provider that most of the full-time members in our district have. This presentation will address how we take care of ourselves and deal with stress and our difficult jobs, during the multiple crises that we're facing. And then finally, we're going to hear from a 32BJ member who will talk about how she's leading her coworkers in the fight to win hazard pay. So I want to start with the Heroes Act. So I think most of you know, and we've been hearing from lots of security officers and cleaners and other members of 32BJ about this fight for hazard pay, and that's part of our bigger fight for this Heroes Act. So I think, since the COVID crisis hit in March, the federal government has passed a series of bills to deal with the widespread layoffs and the deep economic recession that our country has entered into. Trillions of dollars has already been spent to help small businesses, the airlines, state and local governments. Most people got a $1,200 cash payment, and then enhanced unemployment benefits to the tens of millions of people that were left unemployed during this crisis. I think everyone knows the unemployment insurance enhanced benefits are set to expire at the end of July, even though we still have 20 million citizens who are still unemployed. And I think most of you, especially if you're on this call, remember that in April and May, we started advocating for a new stimulus package that includes hazard pay for essential workers, an extension to this enhanced unemployment benefits, another cash payment to most Americans, and enhanced sick leave protection for all COVID affected workers, and not like the CARES Act, where only the people who worked for companies smaller than 500 employees got it, but for everybody. And also an extension to TPS and DACA for immigrant workers who want a path to permanent residency and citizenship. We deserve this. Black and brown workers deserve this, especially in this time, not just one crisis, but multiple crises, and the heightened awareness of race and the importance, that Black lives matter. And, our society is just in a lot of turmoil right now. We also know that COVID has hit Black and brown communities the hardest, and it's only right that extra risks are rewarded. That's what we've always been told by people in power. Now we need to make them, stay true to what they've always been preaching to us. So during April and May, 32BJ members, up and down the coast from New Hampshire to Florida, sent more than 100,000 emails and made thousands of calls to members of the House of Representatives. The pressure the first time worked. Our pressure on Congress made sure that essential workers, included our members, so security officers, janitors, airport workers, doormen, other property service workers who during this whole crisis, had to report to work, had to take on the risks associated with reporting to work. They had to get on the subway or get on the bus, had to greet people at the door, had to do their jobs, whereas a lot of other people didn't have to, and that extra risk should be rewarded. Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats passed a good bill, a multi-trillion-dollar bill that has the things that we wanted in it. But we didn't get that just because they wanted to give it to us. We got that because of the work that people in 32BJ, our members, but members of other unions, the healthcare workers unions, all the pressure that was put on them, that's what got us some of the provisions in this bill that we're not fighting for. And just, I do want to mention, the risks that we've taken include the ultimate risks. During COVID, more than 130 32BJ members have died because of COVID, and that's tragic. People, security officers, like a lot of you, cleaners, people that work in the schools, people that work at the airports, and we deserve this, and this is about this fight. So I'm going to mention this a few times. While we're doing this video, you will see a link in the chat or a link in the information that gets us, that can get you the information that you need to be part of this fight, because we have three main things that we can do. We need to make the calls, more calls. So we called the Congress in April and May. Now we've got to call senators. Our first targets are the two Democratic senators in Virginia who have not fully committed to essential worker pay. They're mainly committed to this bill, but until they commit that, security officers and cleaners are essential workers and deserve a bonus, for the work that they've done, we need to pressure them. So that's the number one thing we're looking to do. Number two is commit to help your coworkers make the call by signing up for the HEROES Act training. You look for the link for the training video and quiz in the information section of the video or in the YouTube chat, but I'm just going to say it now too. It's bit.ly /fight for ePay. So bit.ly /FIGHT for ePay, P-A-Y. People can click on that now and they can bring it up in a separate window, but that has a great video that your lead security rep, Lewis Davis, put together with Ricardo Campos, our political director, and gives you some information and kind of teaches you how you can make these patch through calls with your coworkers. So after you complete this training, either your rep will reach out to you or you can reach out to your rep. And if you don't have your contact information, look for their contact information in the YouTube chat. Your rep will give you a list of members for you to do the patch through calls with. And if you've never done this before, you can start with a small list, but it is important that we really get this going and have a lot of calls and a lot of pressure on the Congress to make this happen. Your field rep will be supporting you. After you make the calls with your coworkers, report back to your field rep so they can record who's already made the calls so we don't have multiple people call them. Also call them if you need help doing this. They're here to make this happen. We were able, during the Congress press, more than 800 members from DC, Maryland, and Virginia made the calls to Congress in April and May. But the only way we're going to increase the pressure is to have more people than just the staff helping with this. That's why we're calling on stewards, leaders, and activists to move their coworkers and to help them make these patch through calls to the Senate. The more pressure we put on these decision makers, the better the bill will be. And I think we all understand how power works, and the way 32BJ has always done things is whether we do lobbying or visit Congress or we hit the streets, we got to put pressure on the decision makers. We will be hitting the streets on Monday. So we'll put something, you'll see something in your email or your text either today or later, in that we have an action where we're going to push on the Senate when they come back to work on Monday to pass the HEROES Act now and Black Lives Matter. And that's why we should pass the HEROES Act now. So just to recap that, the HEROES Act and if people don't know exactly what the hazard pay in the HEROES Act is, it's a $13 an hour premium pay on top of wages, retro to January 27th. And if that's not something worth fighting for, I don't know what would be. But, the only way we're going to get that is if we keep pressuring the Senate to get this passed. Because if we leave Trump and McConnell to do what they want to do, they're not going to give it to us. So we got to fight for it. So click on the link. And at the end of the call, we'll hear from some leaders who have already been doing these calls, and we'll give a little bit more information. But I'm going to make a pivot now. The other part we want to do is recognize, the stress that we're working through. And we reached out to Kaiser, who is the healthcare provider for most of the people on the call and most of our full-time members in Metro DC and Baltimore. And Priya Saha is going to lead us through a presentation on dealing with stress and how we take care of ourselves during this time. So Priya, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Rich. Are you able to hear me, Rich?
Yep, you got it, and I see your screen.
Excellent. Thank you for having me today. So my name is Priya Saha. I'm a registered nurse and I work for Kaiser Permanente. And my day-to-day job is to make sure that the employees that I work with are living their happiest and most productive lives. So I was invited today to talk about how we can navigate the really difficult times that are going on right now and maybe share some tips to help you build your own resiliency in your day-to-day so that you can come back to work day-to-day feeling refreshed, feeling fulfilled, feeling productive, feeling grateful for the great work that you do every day. So I do want to start off by just saying thank you. I know you are on the front lines for us, doing what you do every day, keeping us safe. And you are an essential worker, just like the doctors and nurses at Kaiser Permanente. You're showing up to take care of the community. I know it's hard. I know it's stressful. And I just want to appreciate how grateful we are to you and the union at SEIU 32BJ, Maria, Lewis, Rich, and all of you for inviting me here today and bringing all of us this wonderful opportunity. So let's get started. The challenge of staying human in the middle of this comes down to how we respond. Sorry, my screen had froze for a second. The challenge of staying human in the middle of this comes down to how we respond to the suffering around us and in ourselves. So how can we find ways to respond instead of react? There are a lot of things every day that are bubbling up in the news that are causing us lots of stress. The racial inequalities, the riots, the protests, the global crisis that's going on right now. How can we stay human and not lose ourselves in this process is probably the most useful tool that we will have to keep ourselves resilient moving forward. Everyone's experiencing stress right now. What does that feel like to you? I know Paul is with us this morning. Are you able to share with us what stress feels like to you and maybe how you stay resilient through all of this?
Thank you very much. Good morning. To me, stress during this pandemic that we all facing, or during this stress that, to me, stress feel like to me is when I wake up in the morning, I know I have to go to work, and I know what it takes when I get to work to be extra careful, not even really being able to focus on my job, but extra careful about myself and worrying about my family, going back home to make sure I don't contact anybody with this serious virus.
Mm-hmm.
So I worry about my family, and then I also worry about myself. But I have to wake up in the morning. I have to do this job. I have to go to work, and I also have to bring food to the table to my family. So it's really a stressful time. And then this is really what really give me stress. It's really give me stress, like going to work and worrying not to get contact with anybody with the COVID, and coming back home to make sure my family is safe.
Right. And so much of how we experience stress, Paul, all that you're going through and all the other people on the call are going through, it can manifest in physical, emotional ways in your body. So sometimes the emotional component can come up in physical ways where you feel uneasy, you feel numb, the loneliness, feeling trapped during the isolation. I know I definitely experienced that myself. I am a woman who lives in DC by herself, and I was very much feeling trapped. And I didn't know really how long this would last, but I knew that I'm around to make sure that I wasn't experiencing stress every day. You can get in these loops where you feel a little bit negative. It can come up in physical ways as well, where you can feel exhausted or sleep deprived, a little bit achy, you feel sore, maybe you feel sick. And it's important to address all of those physical manifestations and experiences to also make sure that you're not feeling that you're by yourself going through this. It's so important to address what's going on so that you can continue to live your best life. I want to let you know on the Kaiser side that we are here for you and you're not alone. Thank you to the partnership with the union. Kaiser has so many free benefits for you that you can utilize that I'm going to go into in a few minutes. But before we do that, there's a really amazing word that I love, and it's called resilience. It's kind of like when you see a little flower growing in the middle of concrete and you're like, how did that get there? It's the resilience. It's the ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune and change. And some elements of personal resilience include being self-aware, being mindful, having a sense of purpose and meaning. Self-care is about taking care of you first, putting on the oxygen mask on yourself so that you can take care of your wife or your husband or your kids and all the other people around you. Sometimes when we're in a stressful state, we run from work and then we run to taking care of the family. But do we ever take that moment to pause and take care of ourselves? Are we putting that oxygen mask on ourselves? Are we making sure that we're eating proper fruits and vegetables? We're taking the time to take deep breaths, take a pause, turn off the technology, have a mindful moment, meditate, go for a silent walk, and then go and take care of your family. Because if you can't take care of yourself first, if you can't build your own resiliency, how can we show up for other people? It's all about taking care of number one first, putting on that oxygen mask, building your resiliency so that you have space, emotional bandwidth to take care of other people around you. So what we're going to do next is take a quick little mindfulness practice. And mindfulness is just the act of being conscious and aware about something. It means turning off everything else around you and focusing on just on one thing. So today we're going to practice mindful breathing, which means the only thing you're going to be focusing on is your breath. So if you are able to see my screen, there is a picture that shows an inhale. So you can take a deep inhale and a slow exhale. And if you're unable to see my screen, I just want you to count in your mind, just silent thoughts. So take a deep inhale through your nose, sitting up straight in your chair and filling up your lungs to maximum capacity. Keep taking a deep breath in, holding your breath at the top, and a slow, relaxed exhale, completely releasing all the air in your lungs. We're going to do that 2 more times. Take a deep inhale through your nose. And feel free to close your eyes here and just focus on the breathing, expanding your lungs to maximum capacity. Holding your breath at the top. And a deep, slow exhale. And again, holding your breath at the bottom. And again, one final deep breath. We're all going to do this together. Everyone on the call, take a deep breath in, filling up your lungs to maximum capacity. Taking that last sip of air. Holding your breath at the top. And a deep, slow exhale through your nose. The only thing you're focusing on is exhaling right now. And slowly return your breath to normal. So that is what it means to have a mindful breathing moment. And you can practice this in just about anything that you do, including mindful walking, mindful eating, and mindful conversations. It is a very difficult time right now, and the world is very polarized. I live with a lot of people in my building who have very different views than I do. And it takes a lot for me to calm myself, to breathe mindfully, and respond instead of react. And the way that I am able to do this is to have my own self-care practice where I can build my own resiliency. And this is what you are going to start doing if you're not already doing it in your day-to-day, is to practice these mindful moments so that you can continue living in harmony with yourself. Even if there's disharmony around us, as long as you are the stable, resilient person in your life, it will have a ripple effect to everyone else around you. When they say, wow, Paul is really calm right now. I wish I could be more like Paul. You know, that kind of ripple effect of your calmness can be very contagious. Another thing that's really contagious is joy. How do you find joy in your day-to-day life? I want to hear from some more of our fellow 32 BJ members. We have Naya today. Can you unmute and share with us what kind of activities you do to cultivate joy in your life, Naya?
Hello. To find joy, I create. I'm a creative. So I like to make things. I like to sew. I like to help others as far as yoga and making sure that their skin is taken care of, because so I like to cultivate and create that way. That's my joy. Making sure that my son gets out and about and he can experience new things as far as the nature trails that we've taken, the walks that we've taken in the morning. That's finding joy. And
that's beautiful.
Helping people smile. As you can see, my mask, if everyone can see it, it's different masks that I like to wear. That kind of sparks conversation to just cheer someone up, or also to help them remember to wear their mask.
Right.
That's also finding joy. You have to laugh at the small things,
right,
and don't take life for granted, because it's a lot of things out here that's not promised to us anymore. COVID is very real. Yep. And having family members that have been diagnosed with it, and my grandmother, that really shook me. And it was like, okay, it's really time to make sure that we take time for the small moments, and take that time and embrace those small moments, so that we can find the happiness in all this chaos. And that's what I do. So just calling and checking on my friends and my family members, and like I said, creating and being a creative, and doing my yoga, and staying focused on the things that I need to stay focused on as far as my family goes, and our safety and cleanliness, and most definitely prayer. That's how I find my joy.
That's so wonderful, Naya. Thank you so much for sharing that. What I heard you say was that you had a lot of healthy behaviors that you were doing to find joy, which is so beautiful during this time, because there are things that are canceled right now, like that we used to do, but there's so many things that are not canceled, like hanging out in nature, being outdoors, creating joyful moments like gifts for your friends. I think you mentioned skincare. None of that is canceled, and you can do more of it now. Being outside, going for walks, going for a swim. These things are still open and available to us. Something that I learned that I thought was so important to me was that if I wrote down a list of all the things I was doing on one sheet of paper, and on the other side wrote all the things that brought me joy, and if those two weren't aligned, I knew that I needed to readjust my course of action in my life, and I needed to make sure that list was all the same. So finding joy in simple moments in the morning, if it's doing a little bit of yoga, going for a walk, going for a run, spending time with kids, spending time with your dog, all these things that can find joy in day-to-day lives, feel free to maximize it. Joy is not canceled. Joy is still there for you, and we can still have joy and be resilient when the world around us is a little bit uncertain. Here at Kaiser, we have a very robust mental health service, and all of these are baked into your health insurance. So if you feel at all like you are struggling or someone you know is struggling who has Kaiser, you can always make your first appointment by calling the mental health line. You don't have to go through your doctor to do this. If you are on the call, you would like to write this really important phone number down. It is 1-866-530-8778. Again, that number is 1-866-530-8778. And that is to make an appointment with behavioral health services at Kaiser Permanente. I use it all the time. I can FaceTime with a psychologist if I'm having some difficulty going through something. I say, you know what, I think I need to have a check-in. And they're going to give me tools that I need to learn and tools that I can find helpful and useful to help me stay resilient so that I can come back to work day to day. And again, this is an amazing resource that has been created for you, so why not take advantage of that? In addition to being able to call the behavioral health line, we also have free wellness coaching. That's free, no cost added. So through the union, you have these benefits. Why not utilize them? You can call a health coach Monday through Friday. Coaching is offered in English and Spanish. You do not need a referral, and there is no charge for Kaiser members. They can coach you through a variety of different things that you might be going through. Maybe you want to have a healthier weight. Maybe you want to stop smoking or using tobacco or vaping products. You can have them motivate you to become more active. They can coach you through a stress-free program, also helping you to eat healthier. So all of our health coaches are health educators, and they are trained in behavior change counseling. They're going to coach you through with very unique tips to help you change your habits, and it's absolutely free. The number for this, if you'd also like to write this down, is 1-866-862-4295. And this is a free wellness coach available to you. And all the information is confidential, so you never have to worry about it going back to your employer. So if you've always thought about maybe having a coach in your life, this is the time to do it. Why not do it when it's free and it's here for you? Some other quick tips that I have about reducing stress and anxiety day to day about coronavirus. This is kind of some of the mantras that I live by, is that eat as healthy as you can. Healthy fruits and vegetables have been proven to boost your mood in a positive way. So start your day by eating something that's really good for you. There's psychology that says if you start in the morning, you're likely to do that for the rest of the day. Also, if you start healthy habits and behaviors on a Monday, you're likely to continue that throughout the rest of the week. So if you want to start healthy, start that healthy habit on a Monday, you're likely going to do that even by the time you get to Friday. You're like, wow, I am still being healthy throughout the week. Getting creative with your exercise. I like to go biking. That's not canceled. I like to swim. That's not canceled. Going jogging, running, anything that gets me outside. Get creative. If the weather is bad, you can stay inside and do some fitness activities at home. Also being able to talk and listen to people. Sometimes you have to be the listener instead of the talker. If you're someone who's going through a lot of stress and you see someone else going through a lot of stress, maybe listen to their story, and it might help you feel more comfortable to open up. And it also might help you relate to what someone else is going through. Kindness is also very important. It's the gift that just keeps on giving. I notice that when I need and to receive love in my life, I need to give more out to wherever I am. So practicing kindness, that's simple gestures, being able to shop for a neighbor maybe, and kindness goes both ways. So helping others just boost that feel good hormone in the body. And lastly, and almost importantly, resting and relaxing, making sure that you're getting enough sleep. This is an important time for your body to rest and renew and recharge. If you think about your body and your brain as a computer, it needs to be turned off and unplugged so that it can work and function again the next day. So very similarly, we just need to power down, making sure you're sleeping between 7 to 9 hours a night. If you're sleeping more than 9, you're getting too much. If you're sleeping less than 7, you're not getting enough. 7 to 9 hours is the sweet spot. If you're having trouble sleeping, try powering down at least 1 hour before you go to sleep. That means no technology before bed, no caffeine after noon if you can prevent it. If you're working on a night shift, adjust those times again and find a way that sleep will work for you. Maybe it's like a eye mask or taking a bath before bed, something like that to relax your body. So these are all really important ways to reduce your stress and daily anxiety. If you're still feeling overwhelmed, we have more apps available to you. The Calm app and MyStrength app have been offered to you as union members and Kaiser members for free. The ways you can utilize this is you can go online, so kp.org/selfcare apps. You can use either the Calm or the MyStrength app to help you build your mental fitness. So what are some of the benefits of mental fitness and resilience? You get better sleep, you have a higher EQ, that's emotional quotient, it makes you more emotionally intelligent, reduced anxiety, stronger immune system, because when you are less stressed, your immune system is stronger. You have sharper focus, you can get your tasks done, lower blood pressure, greater happiness. These all sound like a giant win in my book. So why not download these apps? They're absolutely free. And you utilize these maybe before bed. Do a quick breathing exercise, do a quick meditation. You can listen to a sleep story, do a breathing exercise, listen to calm music, calm your body down, and get ready to prepare for sleep so you can be your best self the following day. The MyStrength app is great for behavioral therapy. It helps with managing depression, controlling anxiety, reducing stress, all the things I'd mentioned before with the Calm app. They both are incredibly helpful during this difficult time when maybe we can't do the things that we used to do. So let's boost ourselves up while we're at home so we can come out stronger and continue to be the workforce that we need. So while I'm coming to a close in my presentation, I want to give you one more tool before I leave, and it's called Name It to Tame It. And this is really, really good at helping people manage your anxiety. So this activity, you will take a piece of paper and divide it into 4 quadrants. In the top left quadrant, you're going to write the word home. In the top right quadrant, you're going to write the word work. In the bottom left quadrant, you're going to write the word finances. And in the bottom right category, you're going to write the word health. So you're going to have 4 quadrants on your piece of paper: home, work, finances, and health. In each of these, on your own time, you're going to write down all the things that cause you stress and anxiety. So name it to tame it. After you've filled out your entire list, and I do this about 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year I do this to make sure that I'm staying on top of my anxiety. You have 3 little letters called fix it, leave it, accept it. An F for fix, an L for leave, and an A for accept. So all the things that stress you out in your day-to-day life, put a little letter next to it. Is it something that you could easily fix so it won't cause you stress? Like maybe there's a leaky faucet and that's been really stressing you out. Hey, you can fix that, or you can call someone to fix that. Put a little F by that. Is it something that you need to leave? Something that's really stressing you out? Maybe a volunteer situation has gotten really out of control and you just have to leave it. Or some other commitment that you can consider leaving. Put an L by that. Put an A for accept, the things that you cannot change. How do we accept the things that we cannot change? Perhaps it's a child with special needs or an ill partner. These are things we have to learn to accept. The things that we can fix and leave will start to come off of your table of stress and come off of your plate. So whenever you're starting to feel like you're out of control, this is a great way to regain the control so that you are staying on top of the stress and helping you manage all of the anxiety that's going on day to day. Lastly, I just want to say, if you take anything away from today, just start small and start today. It doesn't have to be a big, momentous thing to start taking care of all the things going on in the world. You can start small and you can start today. Kaiser is here for you. We have many different links, websites, and phone numbers that you can access. And I will be sending these all to Maria, and she will be sending them out to you as well, and to Rich as well. So there's lots of people here that will be resources for you to access. If you didn't have a chance to write down the link, or if you didn't have a chance to write down the phone numbers, don't worry, we will be sending them to you. So kp.org/selfcare and the Selfcare apps, great place to start. You start small, you start today, you take all the tools that you have and start applying to your life day to day until you start to feel a little bit better, and then start sharing the resources with other people, because this is all about community. I want to say thank you so much. I know you guys are working so hard and you are on the front lines, and I can't imagine what it's like being in your shoes, but we want to say thank you for all the hard work that you do. And I appreciate the union so much. Maria, Louise, Rich, for having me here today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope that you have found this presentation to be helpful. And I would love to be a resource to you as well. If you ever want to share some more stories with me, I'm here to listen at any time. Thank you again for your time.
Great. Thank you, Priya. That was a really great presentation. And just I'll say personally, I always feel so good after I do the mindful breathing, you know, not just the focus that it gives me, but also like the ease in my stomach muscles. So I would need to remember to do that more often, and I think it's a good idea for everybody.
That's beautiful. You can start every day like that.
Yeah. Thanks again. And also thank you, Paul and Naya, for sharing. Thank you for sharing your stories. I think that's helpful for everyone. So, okay, we're going to pivot back to our Heroes Act fight, you know, and well, before that, we will get out the links and the phone numbers to everybody on this call, but make sure that we reinforce that with all of our members, you know, and we are really proud to have Kaiser as a fully employed, employer paid health insurance for our members, you know, which is a good plan and really helping with some things that aren't always the first thing you think of when healthcare. So that's great. All right, Heroes Act. So I know a bunch of people joined since we started the presentation. So I'm just going to quickly review before I kick this over to Lewis and Raylynn Mcpherson, who's one of our leaders who's moving this program. So, you know, the government is going to pass another stimulus bill that will be trillions of dollars. You know, we need to fight to get our share. You know, Black and brown workers who are essential workers deserve it. And if we don't fight for it, we're not going to get it. That's clear. You know, we heard Trump yesterday and McConnell for the last month saying they have their little pet projects that they're going to focus on. You know, Trump only wants a payroll tax. Well, we get a little bit of that, but that goes to rich people most. The more you make, the more you get. McConnell's only concerned about protecting liability of, you know, business and corporations. That's what he said his number one priority is. Well, we don't have the same priorities. Yeah, like, and I just want to go over again what's in this that's really helpful. So number one is hazard pay. You know, like that was our number one priority. That's what members have been talking about. You know, we wish we could get it from the building owners, but in a recession, that's tougher. You know, when no tenants are in the building and tenants are trying to get rent rebates, it's tougher to get them to pay for it, or the government. There's no tax revenues. You know, it's tough for the government to come up with it. But if the federal government is going to be giving out trillions of dollars, we can get some money for the people that are doing the work that keeps everybody safe, keeps the building clean, you know, and people that have to go to work, frankly, you know, and if they don't go to work, they could lose their jobs. So we deserve this bonus. $13 an hour, retro to January. We might not get it all, but if we don't fight for it, we're not going to get anything. I think number two, an extension of unemployment. You know, 20 million people are still unemployed. That includes, you know, almost 20,000 32 BJ members. You know, most security officers are not unemployed, even though like at big sites like Smithsonian, a lot still are unemployed. But people need that extra benefit because getting $500 a month from DC or Maryland or $400 a month from Virginia or a week, I mean, that's still not going to be enough. You know, we need the extended pay and we need as close to 600 as possible. Getting another stimulus check for most people, the $1,200 that really help people. Making sure there is money for PPE. You know, the companies are doing better about it, but it would be good if the federal government was using the Defense Production Act to make sure there was enough PPE to keep us safe at work. And I would say also making sure our immigrant members are protected, you know, and that is part of this too, and an extension to DACA and TPS, which is for workers who are here, who have status now and want to get permanent status or citizenship. And that should be part of the solution. We have to fight for it though. You know, like, and I'm gonna name this link one more time. It's in the chat, but this bit.ly, so bit.ly/FIGHT, the number 4 EPAY, bit.ly/fight for ePay. Click on that link. It's how you can get involved. You know, we had 800 calls in DC, Maryland, and Virginia in April and in May to the Congress. We need more than 1,000 now to the Senate. You know, we're working on the 2 Democrats in Virginia to start with, but we'll probably start calling some vulnerable Republicans. You know, they want to keep their jobs. For them to keep we got to make it tough for them. You know, for them to keep their jobs, we got to get them to pass a good bill. So it might be you call the senator in North Carolina or Georgia or Arizona or Maine or some of these other Republicans that are looking to lose if they don't start doing some good things. So we got work to do, but it requires us to do it, and us as leaders and active people who want the hazard pay to do something, you know. And there's a little saying in 32 BJ that you've heard for a lot. It's like, when we fight, we win. You know, the opposite of that is when we don't fight, it's hard to win. So we got to do this. All right, so Louis, I'm going to pass it over to you, and you can introduce Raylynn and talk about some of the other work that the leaders have been doing. Louis.
Yeah, I'm going to pass. Thank you, Rich, for that. Thank you, Maria, for your leadership. Thank you, Priya, for the awesome presentation. I'm actually going to introduce Raylynn Mcpherson. So the way we got the HEROES Act through the House was that we had hundreds of 32 BJ members in the Capital Area District call and flood local Congress people's office. We pressured them over emails, and we have to do even more with the U.S. Senate. So we are asking, you know, people to step up. And one of those members who has stepped up right now to lead the charge and has already started to get her coworkers to call into Senate's office is Officer Raylynn Mcpherson. So I'm going to ask Officer Mcpherson to unmute yourself and to share your experience with calling your coworkers and getting them to call the Senate to demand that these senators support the HEROES Act and get essential pay for essential workers. Go ahead, Raylynn.
Hello. My name is Raylynn Mcpherson. I'm a security officer for Admiral Security. I work at 1025 S Street, and I've worked for Admiral Security for 5 years. I've been a shop steward for almost a year, and I'm proud leader to fight to pass the HEROES Act. To have my union representative, Mr. Maurice Thomas, to help guide me through this. We deserve this because we are on the front lines and we are risking our health and our lives. I have a son at home and I need to provide for him, and I don't need to be getting sick. It's only fair that we get the premium hazard pay for essential workers. Earlier this spring, my supervisor got COVID, and myself and my coworkers were put on quarantine without pay. Admiral is allowed to do such because the CARES Act only covered workers and companies with fewer than 500 workers, which in no security company contractor in Washington, D.C. has that. The HEROES Act will expand the sick leave and coverage for COVID reasons for all workers, and mostly importantly, recognize us as essential workers and give us essential pay. We are essential workers, and it's time for us to be treated as such. We can win if we all fight together. I hope you will join me in leading our coworkers to pressure the center and become a HEROES Act. I'm very, very excited about this because I'm not just fighting for us, it's for everyone. I mean, this pandemic has really, really changed people. It's opening up people's eyes. And it's, it needs a change. We need to change. We need to help to make a change. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what my coworkers are doing. And that's what I'm gonna keep knocking down doors. I'm gonna keep knocking on doors. I'm gonna keep making them calls. And if I have to do it by myself, I will. Because it's not just about me, it's about our union and people that needs help and a voice that needs to be heard. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks, Raylynn. So there's an important thing that Raylynn spoke to. It's to her resilience and her determination to get hazard pay for herself and her coworkers. But there's one thing I want to correct her on. You know, she said if she has to do this by herself, that she will. And we're not going to let her get this by herself. We're not going to let her do this by herself. We cannot let her do this by herself. So as the first step into that, for you to join the actions that we're taking right now this month to demand essential pay and get this bill through the HEROES Act, like Rich has reminded us before, we need you to visit. And if you're hearing my voice, I literally need you to do this right now. I want you to visit bit.ly/fight for ePay. Again, that's bit.ly/fight, FIGHT, the number 4, ePay. E is in electronic pay. That's for essential pay. All right, so I want to thank Officer McPherson for stepping up. And what you can do from that link, you can both sign up to call Congress, and more importantly, you can sign up so that you can call your coworkers and lead your coworkers in the calling Congress. And that's what we need right now. So first, before I want to read the names of the people who have stepped up and taken that challenge. But before I get there, I want to thank Officer McPherson. We have to thank CAD leadership for making this happen. Not only are we focused on heroes pay, but it's important that we take care of ourselves. We go to buildings, we hear from officers every single day. I've been a security officer. We know what that stress is like, especially in the middle of a pandemic. And our local CAD leadership, Maria Naranjo, made this call happen. So we have to thank her for her leadership. And then, of course, the leader of our security division who has helped grow this security division to over 4,000 leaders strong, Rich Gibson, for setting the context. So like I said, we have over 4,000 security officers in our chapter, and there's one thing that we have, that is collective power, period. We don't have the money that our bosses have or the big corporations, and we don't have the political influence that the elected officials that don't have the best interest in working people's interests at heart. The one thing we have is when we get together and we fight and we win. And I know this sounds a little bit cheesy. I know this sounds a little bit repetitive, but I will remind you of the things that we have won. In DC, we recently won this month. If you have a newborn child and you need to stay home to take care of that child, if a loved one is sick, we passed the best damn paid family sick leave in this country. That's because 32 BJ members stepped up and testified. So no one who works in DC any longer has to worry about taking off to take care of a loved one who is sick and whether their bills would get paid. That's because 32 BJ members stepped up. When I was a security officer for Security Assurance Management, like many of my former coworkers that I see on a regular basis, I barely made over $12 an hour. And I had to regularly choose between Metro fare and whether I was going to eat that day. My coworkers, I'm proud to say, make over $20 an hour now. And that's because they stood up, they fought, and they unionized. So when we fight, when we win. This is true for Virginia, where we raised the minimum wage. This is true for Maryland, where we raised the minimum wage. We continue to stand up. We continue to fight. We continue to win. When they told us that we wouldn't get this through the U.S. House of Representatives, hundreds of 32 BJ members made calls to Congress. Just like Raylynn is helping her coworkers, they took ownership and we got this through the House. But right now we are falling short in the Senate. We do not have enough members stepping up and taking leadership. Right now we only have 37 members who stepped up, who agreed to call their coworkers to get them to call Congress. And I'm going to publicly thank those members right now. And again, if you are willing to do the same as these leaders, I need you to log on to and sign up to be a leader. Take a 10-minute training. It's all online at your leisure, so you can demand that the Senate pass heroes pay. It is the only way that we will get the HEROES Act. So I want to thank Officer Charlene Lindler with SAMS. She stepped up. I want to thank Officer Terry Dorsey. He has stepped up. I want to thank Officer Paul, who spoke earlier. It is his constant leadership at DYRS that they are where they are. I want to thank Officer Chanisha Harper with Allied. She stepped up. Officer Derek Bass, he stepped up. Officer Dorothy Perry has stepped up. Again, Officer McPherson, she stepped up and she talked about how she has been getting her coworkers for days to call the U.S. Senate and demand that they pass HEROES Act. I'm going to thank Officer Desiree Carter, who stepped up, another great officer over at DYRS. I'm going to thank Officer Sierra Hood, who has stepped up and agreed to take leadership. I'm going to thank Officer Paris McGriff, who stepped up, Officer Gary Jones, who stepped up, Officer Maisha Johnson, who stepped up, Miss Phyllis Johnson, thank you for stepping up with Allied. Sherry Wilson has stepped up. Yvonne Gordon has stepped up. Nina Berry has stepped up. Officer Lou with Garda World, we can't thank you enough for holding it down. There are not enough Garda World officers who are demanding hazard pay. So when your coworkers ask you, when are we getting hazard pay? You ask them, have they called the U.S. Senate yet? And whether they're willing to do it with you right now. I want to thank Officer Johnny Gibson with First Coast Security. We don't have enough First Coastal Security officers stepping up. I'm going to thank another allied officer, Officer Adimu. Officer Sandra Jackson is a constant freedom fighter. I'll say it again. You have not worked in a commercial building downtown in Allied or Admiral without running across a floater and a shop steward, Sandra Jackson, who's regularly fighting for every single member. And she has stepped up. Officer Joseph for stepping up, Officer William Wright for stepping up, Officer Alicia Young. Alicia Young, I believe, is the daughter of Officer Pixley, who's a constant freedom fighter who's been fighting in this for her coworkers for over a decade. I want to thank Officer Masin Muhammad. She's another allied officer at the Smithsonian. If you are at the Smithsonian right now and you are collecting the federal unemployment and that extra benefit that we fought for through the CARES Act, if you got back to your job after the last furlough and government shutdown, it was Officer Miss Muhammad who stepped up, came to rallies, and who continues to step up to make these calls. That's over. And lastly, but not least, Officer Parks with Securitas. And just to say, again, we need you to sign up, because if you're not willing to get your coworkers to make the call, then at least make the call yourself. And you do that by signing up at bit.ly/fight the number 4 ePay that's in the chat. Again, it's bit.ly/fight the number ePay in the chat. And I'll just say this, we have a long history, and I've went through that, about how when we fight, we get victories. But right now, only 37 people have stood up to lead this charge. And over 4,000 security officers cannot ride on the backs of 37 security officers. We have to take ownership if we want this to happen, and I know we can. So I'm issuing this challenge out that if you have not signed up, I'm expecting you to do it right now. If you sign up, I'm expecting you to get your coworkers. And lastly, we're going to have an awesome action. Because not only are we calling, not only are we emailing, not only are we going to the press and raising our voices demanding HEROES Act gets passed so we have essential pay, that we're fighting for an extension of the unemployment benefit, that we're fighting for another stimulus, that we're fighting for protection for our immigrant brothers and sisters who work in the same buildings alongside with us. But we are going to the Senate on noon. On Monday, that's noon Monday, we will be at the Senate. And if you're willing to join us for a brief socially distanced rally, of course, if you're not working, again, you should not be working. We want you to join this if you are off, but we are going physically to the Senate to demand that they pass the HEROES Act. So if you're willing to fight to get your coworkers to call, if you're at least willing to call the Congress yourself, and if you're courageous enough to join us on Monday as we demand this HEROES Act, as we take risks of showing up to work every single day, I'm going to close by saying we need you right in this moment, because when we fight, we win. To sign up, go to bit.ly/fight for ePay. Again, that's bit.ly/fight for ePay. I issue this challenge because I know my brothers and sisters can stand up and meet it, and we're capable, because when we fight, when we win. Thank you, Rich.
Okay, Louis, thank you very much for your leadership and your passion for driving this work. Just one more time, guys, we got the HEROES Act. We have the ability to get a lot in there. You know, if we don't fight, we're going to be stuck with whatever the big wigs and the politicians and the corporate lobbyists want. You know, if we do fight, we're going to get as many of these things as possible. So what we need to do, go to the bit link, you know, sign up, commit to get your coworkers to make the call, contact your field rep, get a list, even if it's a small list of your coworkers that you can make the patch through call and get the calls done. You know, that's what we can do to make this. We've got probably about 2 weeks to do it, but the sooner the better. Senate is back at work on Monday. We can start making these calls. You know, we can win, but we got to start doing it. So please follow these steps. I want to thank you all for participating today. And again, just publicly thank you all for the work you do every day. You are essential workers. You do deserve everything that we fight for and more. So I hope people got something out of this call today. You know, great presentation from Kaiser, you know, and are a little bit more motivated to fight and win this HEROES Act. And with that, I'm going to end the call and wish everybody a good weekend. And maybe I'll see some of you on Monday at the rally, but I know we'll all be calling the Senate and making this happen. Okay, take care, everyone.